All right, how we doing, everybody? We are gonna just get cracking and rolling here. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. We have a bunch of stuff to kind of get caught up on and to talk about today. I started up the third anthology series about a week or so ago, a couple days ago. So that form is up and out there. If you haven't seen it yet, we're going to be doing 2 to 10 pages underground comics, and if you're going to be doing sending in one pagers, that's just going to be purely dedicated to art and covers. So do keep that in mind. And I'm not opposed to you sending me both. I had somebody reach out to me and ask if it was cool if they sent both. Sure, absolutely. Doesn't mean we're necessarily going to use them, but we'll see what happens. So I have a couple of housekeeping things that we need to do. I have a small haul that we're going to be just flipping through real quick, taking a look at. I still have a bunch of stuff from Eddie P. Con that I have boxed up in bins that I have to break out and do those. I am going to be on James Foster's podcast on the 15th of this month. And then as well, I'm going to be on Lauren Marshall's podcast at some point too during my campaign. So the campaign for the Kickstarter is going to be launching next week Friday, so it's pretty much a week from today. And that's going to be pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited to actually get to show you guys like more pages and all that kind of stuff. I have everything all tight, nice and done. The book is pretty much completely finished. Like we're talking like 99% done. I'm literally just standing by waiting for pinups from people to kind of fill extras with it. But we're going to be doing, I have the whole 28-page story. I have all of my thumbnails scanned in, put into the book already. I have all of my script for the first issue scanned in, edited, thrown into the book already. I have the forward already done, put into the book. So like I said, the thing is completely done. I have it completely lettered and designed, so on and so forth. I'm just kind of standing by waiting for art. Once the campaign is over, take that money, throw it at the printer, and the book is going off. So it's not going to be one of those campaigns where you're sitting around for 2, 3, 4 months or whatever, waiting, being like, where's my book at? I don't know. And then 6 months down the line, you have a random ass book showing up on your doorstep, wondering where the hell that even came from because you forgot you even backed the project or bought the book to begin with. That happening here. Like I said, I already got the thing done. It's literally just waiting for the print money to send it off. So hopefully it's a good, successful campaign. So let's go ahead and start getting into some of this stuff here real quick. All right, first things first. Obviously, it's just my website here. It's just sam/mcclurg.com. And then I just wanted to direct everybody right to my Kickstarter. So if you click on either the ticker or the link, it'll send you directly over to the preview page that is currently up. So this is everything that we have right now. So if you guys haven't seen already, we got the variant by Brandon Paul, variant by David Omar Lopez, variant by Russell Brown, and then just some preview pages that I have up. On the actual campaign itself, I have 5 pages up. I think that's more than enough to kind of give you an idea of like the art aesthetic and the subject matter that's going to be in the book. So I think that's perfect. And I can't wait for you guys to see like all the other add-ons and everything like that I have stuck in here for you. Oh, my camera, hold on a second, it went to sleep. There we go. All right. All right, so we're gonna take a look at just a real quick haul that I have here. I actually got quite a few things, but we're just gonna go through it real quick. And like I said, I actually still have a lot of stuff from Eddie P. Con that I just have boxed up in a bin still. All right, so a lot of this stuff is just stuff from my pull box, and everybody has seen this stuff before, but just gonna run through it real quick just to show you. So Thundercats Powerpuff Girls crossover. I'm not big into Thundercats, but I'm a big Powerpuff Girls fan. And then since I'm on Powerpuff Girls, my comic shop always pulls these and sticks them into my box anyhow. So that's how I end up with these. I'm honestly probably just gonna end up selling them off because I'm not into like crossover books really either. But I have it. What are you gonna do? It's one of those things that it was in the box and I grabbed it. So I'm also on Sabrina, so I collect Archie stuff, but mainly just Sabrina. I'm mainly into the classic series that they originally put out, the original runs. Not so much like the second generation and all that kind of stuff. And even I have a little bit of the Netflix stuff that they had put out for the TV show, but I'm mainly into it for like the classic Archie aesthetics. Big fan of Sabrina. And then as well, my comic shop had said that he wouldn't be able to get Tramps of the Apocalypse, and I was actually able to get a copy of it. He had said that he ordered it for me and then said that, scratch that, I can't get it for you now, actually. So then I started buying them from West Coast Dave. And then sure as shit, I went to my comic shop last weekend and picked up my box, and 1, 2, and 3 were all in there. So I was like, well, apparently he got them and the owner wasn't in the shop that day. He had somebody helping him. So I wasn't able to ask him, how he was able to get his hands on them. Then of course, we got good old Space Ghost. They're just running with this book still, man. So can't complain with that. It was my book of the year last year. So more issues that we're getting Space Ghost, I fuck with that. So also a very cool cover. That has to be Bart, or what the hell is that guy's name? I can't remember what his name is now. It's terrible. Was it Mark Spears? Is that his name? Francisco Matina? I don't know. It kind of looks like Mark Spears a little bit, but guess not. I think he may have done variants for this in the past, or certainly he had done them for the Future Quest books that they're putting out. All right, and then I am on the sub for Heavy Metal. This finally showed up, and I'm pretty sure that this might be old at this point, like in terms of when it was actually put into my box when this came out. I think this came out like a month or so ago. I could be wrong, but finally was able to snag this, and of course I ordered the Gem Food variant cover. I haven't had a chance to actually flip through this yet and see what was in it. The first issue is actually pretty killer. So pretty excited to see what's in here. I saw Wayshak was in here again. And I know our boy Erwin Papa had done some illustrations for the first issue. Jim Rugg had done some stuff for the first one also, I believe. So pretty killer stuff, man. It's heavy metal, and so far in terms of all like the heavy metal reboots that they've been doing over the past whatever 10, 15 years, that how the company and the brand has kind of just bounced around a bunch. They finally had like landed on something that's like a good mix between like modern and like kind of that weird European style of comics that you would see in the heavy metals from the 70s and the 80s. So it's a pretty good mix of stuff. So I've been digging it. So I can't wait to actually dig into this thing and read a little bit more on it. All right, and then Gem Food, if you haven't seen it yet, guys, his Kickstarter for Arachnid Enforcer is up. Last time I looked at it, it was at like 55 grand, so dude made a fucking killing. He only had it at 7,500 and crushed that goal within 10 minutes. So with that being said, he had done a stream recently that he was just flipping through and showing off a bunch of Spider-Man comics and just like weird obscure ones. And he had showed this issue off of Peter Parker and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and it's got Ace 2 in it, and this dude's basically like a Prince ripoff, and I was watching him flip through a bunch of those comics, and this one caught my eye, so I went and tracked it down, and the local shop had it. The other one I'm trying to look for is Hypno Hustla is his name, the little DJ guy that kind of like hypnotizes people and makes them, do his bidding through the power of the hip-hop. I'm trying to find that one as well. My LCS didn't have it, so... And then, of course, I'm a freak, so I gotta have my Zap comics. This is Zap 8, so now I have 1 through 8. This was one of the later ones that I was missing. I'm not entirely sure how many issues of Zap there actually are floating out there, but there's 8 of them. So good old R. Crumb goodness. And that's like R. Crumb and Spain and Bill Griffiths and all those dudes. They were big influences on me for the anthology that we're going to be doing here next. Another classic R. Crumb stuff here. Can't go wrong. This is a kitchen sink book, I thought it was kind of interesting because this kitchen sink logo I've never seen before. It's like a mushroom, kind of weird. No, it is a sink. It's just hand drawn, but it looks like a mushroom. It's just a poorly drawn sink. Yeah, I've never seen that logo before though. Kind of interesting. But yeah, once we actually get into lettering this page here, I'll show you guys, just the kind of diabolical bullshit that I've been cooking up. So, I picked up this from a West Coast Dave before Eddie Pecan actually, and this is the Spawn variant that Jim Rugg did. And I have so many doubles of this book just in general. Like I have them all in the paperbacks, have them all in single issues. I mean, now I'm kind of at the point where I'm just getting variants of it. I'm not collecting every variant, but mainly just the ones that Ed and Jim did. None of the like guest covers or anything like that I've been really collecting. All right, and then I did pick up. I did Steve Rude's last Kickstarter. It was the How to Draw the Animated Nexus. This also came with his sketchbook from this year, the 2025 sketchbook, and then as well it came with How to Draw Figure Drawing. Steve Rude's my favorite. I think everybody here knows that. I talk to Steve and Janelle pretty often, and told them that the sketchbook that they put out this year is probably the best sketchbook that they've released thus far. They've got QR codes in it that go straight to his videos, so that way the stuff that he's talking about in there, like you have video reference. That's a pretty cool idea that they had done that. But this one in particular, it's actually a animation style guide. So he was still working on trying to get that Nexus TV show picked up, the animated series that he animated that first pilot episode of. And he made this book for his team of animators that, when the show got picked up, this is like the style guide that you would hand somebody. So the reason why I bought this was there's a lot of good just figure drawing reference material in here. So just like stuff like this. Just tons and tons of just like tips on, how to draw dynamic figures, and hey, this is coming straight from Jack Kirby. It's just a super thorough book, and it's like the dude can't go wrong. So if you are looking, and I'm pretty sure he has these up on his website currently, so if you're looking to get like good practice material, this would be a pretty good book to actually pick up. And especially if you're into Nexus and character design, you definitely can pick up a lot from this, and it's just chock full of goodies. So highly recommend to pick this up. And my sketchbook that I bought from him, that is buried in a bin somewhere as well, over at my girlfriend's place, so I don't have it with me currently. But this is the other book that I have. So this is a figure drawing book. I bought this for practice. I still have like 2 more of the Joe Kubert correspondence course books that I have to finish up. I bought 6 of those, and I've already done 4 of them. So that's where a lot of my practice has been happening, besides just learning it inside just making comics and pages. So this one in particular, this is a figure drawing thing. So he wasn't originally going to make this book, and after he was expanding on it and expanding on the last book that I was just showing you guys, he kind of decided that, oh, I should also make a book specifically for figure drawing. Because if everybody knows the dude, he's kind of known for his dynamic poses and just figure drawing in general. He comes from that Andrew Loomis school, to where it's just like hyper fixated on having correct anatomy on stuff. And my anatomy is extremely wonky. Like, it's the kind of shit that you see in your 80s black and white books. And I'm aware of that, and I'm trying to become a better illustrator, cartoonist, so on and so forth. So it's like, Ed Piscor always talks about, hey, if you're learning finance, like you want to learn from Warren Buffett, you don't want to learn from some random asshole out on the street. So that's why when I want to learn, how to draw better figures, I go to the dude. And we go to, bodybuilder, and clearly this dude is a rock. And he uses reference material. But it's like fat dudes, skinny guys, and just kind of just overall as well, like women in different even different ages. So it's pretty impressive, just his figure drawing, and then there's like little practice pages and whatnot in here. So highly recommend this as well if you're just looking to have some good figure drawing practice, or if you just want to get put to shame and get humbled a little bit when you have to look at Steve Rude's art, because the dude just lives on another fucking planet. So crushes every medium, paints, pencil, ink, charcoal, pastels, you know, you name it, the dude can do it. All right. Well, I think we're ready to kind of just sit here and do a little bit of lettering and whatnot. So the I shared this in Discord earlier, but the anthology that we're going to be doing is underground themed. Like I was just saying earlier, obviously like R. Crumb and all those dudes are big influences on me, and even in White Line Deadline, there's a little bit of underground bullshit that goes on in there. And when the campaign actually goes live next week, there's a page on there that I had to cover up with like a censor bar, basically because it was too hot for the Kickstarter campaign, and yeah, so you can kind of just, when you see the picture, you'll see what's blocked out, and it's just dialogue to kind of put into reference. Like I even had to censor that on there, so a lot of just random, you know, bullshit that happens. But this story in particular, so it's called Fat Pussy. So with the PH, and this had come across when I was driving to Pittsburgh. I had seen a billboard like promoting a vet. So they were kind of like, you know, showing a fat obese cat on the billboard, and it had said like, you know, make sure you're taking your cats to the vet, blah blah blah. It was an advertisement to like get your fat cat to go to the vet to, like, you know, get checked on and go on a diet, so on and so forth. And I'm like, fat pussy, like there's something to that. And I've been reading a lot of Johnny Ryan lately, and the most recent book of his that I had read, it was probably like right before I went to ADPCon. It's called Fat Cop, and that book is batshit crazy. So I looked at that Fat Cat billboard, and I looked at Fat Cop, and I was like, how can I take those two things and mesh them together and make my own, you know, story with it or what have you? And that's how I ended up with Fat Pussy. So this is going to be a 10-pager. This is the second page, and as you can see, the lettering I already have rolled out. It's like what I was doing right before I hopped on here. I grabbed my lettering guide and rolled out some lines. So we're just going to sit and do some lettering. I gotta grab my pencil. Just sit and do some lettering and just kind of hang out and talk a little bit. But basically, as you can see, the first couple of panels here on the second page kind of gives away what the premise of the story is. Basically, there's like a nursery tale rhyme that I wrote on the first page, and essentially is what it says. It's like, it's a play on, hey, you know, don't play with your wiener or it's gonna fall off, right? Like I'm sure you've heard that before, just like an old wives' tale or whatever. Very similar instance, but it's, you know, it's a vagina in this case. And they basically, you know, she ends up playing with herself, as you can see, and then her pussy, you know, falls off. It comes alive, basically. And the whole premise of the story is, you know, it's called Fat Pussy, and it's literally just like the little pussy character here just getting like bigger and bigger as he's like continuously just shoving things inside of it, like eating it. As you can see, he's just a hungry boy. So eventually it just turns into like a Godzilla kaiju story at the end of the day, and it's just a big fucking pussy just stomping through skyscrapers and stuff. So batshit insane, exactly what you should see in underground comics. I'm actually, like, when I was sitting and finishing up the first page last night, and I started working on this one last night as well, I was just kind of laughing to myself and smiling to myself, just like how ridiculous the whole thing is, because I have it completely done, like thumbnailed. So all of my pages are here, and you guys can see. Like, keep in mind that these are rough ass thumbnail drawings, but this is page 8, and it's just you know, big kaiju pussy like stomping through a city, very much homaging Godzilla here, and then kind of left notes for myself on I need to draw him bigger. I need to make the buildings a little smaller to make it, you know, the size and more imposing. But this notes for myself on what I need to do when I actually sit down to draw it. This weekend, I'll probably end up getting like 2 pages done a day, so probably end up getting 4 pages done. So the thing will be just about halfway done, if not more than halfway done, by the end of this weekend. So I'll be able to get these 10 pages done, scanned in, edited, and then that way I can kind of focus on my Kickstarter for the next couple of weeks until the deadline for the anthology is done. Once I get everybody's art and everything like that, I'm gonna throw it into the book that I've been designing, and then we'll get that sent off to the printer right away. And then 2 weeks after that, my Kickstarter is gonna be done, and then that's gonna be going off to the printer. So I'm gonna have like books basically releasing within a couple of weeks of each other, which is kind of insane. And that's gonna be 5 releases this year. So keep that in mind, folks. Out here working my ass off. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's just let her and just chit chat a little bit. I have my script pulled up here in front of me, so that's what I'm looking at. I decided to go with a hand lettered thing, and typically I prefer to do hand lettering, but in White Line Deadline, I felt that there's so much dialogue in it. It wasn't really ideal for me to hand letter all of it because it would have taken me way too much time. And I've been contemplating scanning in my my handwriting because I've always wrote in all caps, and just for whatever reason, like my entire life, that's just how I've always done it, and never used undercase. So kind of have a leg up on a lot of people because I have a lifelong practice of doing capital letters. So I was like, oh, I could scan them in and do a digital hand font like a lot of people do. But I kind of opted against it. I'm like, you know what? If I'm ever gonna hand letter something, I'm just gonna fucking hand letter it rather than taking digital shortcuts. This is just a rough pencil, and then when I go in with it, with the micron, I'll actually sit and take a little bit more time of actually making sure that the lines are straighter and everything like that, just as more of a guide for me. And if you guys are into hand lettering, you'll know that the Ames lettering guide is like your best friend on the planet, and it's also your worst enemy on the planet. Because it is a pain in the ass to use that thing sometimes. It's just so time consuming, and plus if you don't have your wheel set and like taped down so it doesn't move around on you, you're constantly having to reset it again and making sure it's in the right position, and it just becomes kind of a nuisance. Probably need to turn this down a little bit. There we go. But I have my guide set up to do a 5/16 ruled. So that's kind of what my gaps are on this, for 5/16. And when you actually scan it in and shrink it down, because I draw on 9.5 by 12, mainly for the reason that it saves me a shitload of time rather than doing it on 11 by 17. You have more space you have to fill up, so it requires more drawing. Thus, you're spending more time on your pages and you're not getting as many done. So this is the trick that I learned from Ed Piskor, because towards the end of his life career, however you want to look at that, he had swapped to 9.5 by 12 strictly for that reason, because he wanted to save a shitload of time. So I kind of picked that up from him, because when I first started making comics, I was doing it on 11 by 17s, and I'm like, oh my god, like, and my drawing and rendering isn't nearly detailed enough for me to actually sit down and do like super detailed drawings. It's just because that's just not how my art style is. And then plus, a lot of my aesthetic comes from using screen tones, and I don't scan in my screen tones and use them digitally like a lot of people do. I'm still cutting it out, the old deleter screen tones with the knife and stamping them on. So the bigger pages, requires me to shell out more screen tone, and if you guys use deleter screen tones, you're well aware that the shit ain't cheap. So that is that's like one of the downsides to also using a bigger page. All right. But yeah, when I do the 5/16 ruled, and I scan it in, it's like the perfect size for the type of things that I do. And you would think that with like, because this whole comic that I'm doing, because there is so much that's going on, that's happening, it would literally be impossible for me to fit the story in 10 pages. Like, this comic realistically probably should have been a full like 24-page comic. So that's why I opted to do every single page in a nine panel grid. So the whole thing is the 9-panel grid, and typically you would do gutters, on your panel borders. That way you can kind of split it up a little bit. But I don't do that because there's already so much negative space on the page from the amount of lack of detail in my rendering style. So I don't put gutters on it, because if I feel like if you did put gutters on it, it would be too much negative space. And then, as well, as you can see, you have literally zero room on this paper because of the size. So even if I did do that, I would have to do it digitally. And in White Line Deadline, there is a nine grid panel page in there, and I had done that. I scanned it in like how you're looking at now, and then I just went and like snipped each individual grid panel, and then just moved it up a little bit, so that way there was a good gutter going on through the panels there. After I sat and looked at it a little bit, I was like, I wish I didn't do that. So I kind of learned my lesson there, but that's why we're here, to learn from our mistakes. And that's one of my favorite things about making comics, is you're constantly learning, and then plus you can always like re-implement or reiterate on previous ideas that maybe you have done in other comics if it didn't work out so well, and you can improve them on the next one. So that's one of my favorite things about making the old comic. All right. But yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on. This weekend I have to go over to the LCS and meet up with my buddy John, and I'm going to be printing some t-shirts for him. And speaking of which, John, if you are watching, my girlfriend is out of town this week and this weekend, and I need her iPad to convert your file to a cuttable version so I can print your t-shirts. So I probably will have to get them done next weekend, but I more than likely can get them done next weekend. I also have to, for Stand Up Dan, or Stand Up Records, I have to get him some spray paint stencils made that he ordered from me. And he sent them to me in a TIFF file, and Procreate, for whatever reason, it won't open it, so I'm going to have to convert it into a different file type. But again, I'm going to need my girlfriend's iPad to do the cutout, so I won't be able to knock that out until next weekend as well. So if you're listening, Dan, that's what the case is with your stencil, because we were trying to get it to open up in Procreate, and just, yeah, like I said, for whatever reason, your files just load up black, and I'd seen that they're in a TIFF, and when I loaded them up into my Photoshop, I was able to look at them fine, but has to be directly on her device, so I gotta get them swapped over and emailed over to her, and then that way when she's back in town, we can knock that out for you real quick. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, I'm going to be on Laura Marshall's podcast, probably here in the next couple of weeks, and then on the 15th, I'm going to be on James Foster's podcast again. I'm on Rare Air there. There's only been like 2 or 3 people that have been on there multiple times, and I'm one of them. And I'm gonna end up being on there again. Me and him have actually been kind of talking about doing like a live stream of a drawing or something to kind of promote the campaign a little bit. And it was his idea. So we shall see how that goes. James is a good dude. If you don't know who James Foster is, you can just look up Nerdy Musings podcast, or just look up James Foster as well, and I'm sure you'll be able to pop it up. But he's a jiu-jitsu coach, and he's just a good dude. Knows a lot about comics, and he kind of doesn't put comics into a box, and that's one of the things that I think that me and him jive with, is that comics can be anything and everything. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, when they think about comics, right, they're just like, oh, it's just Batman, Spider-Man, so on and so forth. And, you know, your Love and Rockets and other indie books and all that kind of stuff are just not on people's radars. And that's one of the reasonings why I decided to, get into comics and push comics, especially on the independent scene. Because I feel like if people knew about Love and Rockets, or if Love and Rockets, and I'm just using that as an example, was more readily accessible, more people would actually read that stuff and open up and expand their minds a little bit to what comics can be. Because it's like, even my LCS, we don't have or get any Fantagraphics books. So even if I ask him to order them for me, it's rare that they even show up. And I'm not entirely sure why that's the case, but if I go to the comic shop down in Oshkosh, or I go to the one up in Green Bay, it's like, that's just stuff that they have up on the wall. So it's like, not every comic shop you can go into, you can pick up those style of books, even if you try to order them. So I'm not too sure, what the case is there with my comic shop, but that's just more money that I'm sending to Dave to get me those style of books. But that's one of my goals, though, is just kind of trying to spread the word and normalize weirdo independent comics. And I was actually listening to the shoot interview that Mahfoud did with the kayfabe dudes. And he was talking about how when he was doing those team crossover books at Marvel, and they were hiring on like Peter Bagg and all those kind of guys to come in and do more indie style things, the editor at Marvel at the time had said, like, hey, we love this, we love what you guys are doing, but they're not selling worth this shit. So they cut the line, and it only lasted for a handful of issues between those different creators working on the individual titles. And I think that, what is it, Marvel Fantastic Four Team Up number 9, I think, is the first one that Mahfoud had done. I could be wrong, but I think that's the first one. And short-lived series, and they canned it strictly because it didn't sell well. And it's like, I don't understand that, why people, like, I call them your, Wednesday Warrior, Marvel Zombie kind of reader, to where that's all they do look at. And it's like, you have a comic shop full of a million different creators and whatnot, and you just walk in and you grab your fucking Doctor Doom book and you walk out, and that's like the only thing that you read or look at. I don't know, it's strange to me. And like, the other thing that's also really weird to me about people's comic book collecting habits is when you're getting books and you're not actually reading them. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I have a backlog myself because, I buy stacks of books at a time when I do go to the comic shop, but I actually will sit and read through them before I buy bigger stacks, right? So it's like, I have a backlog, but not a big one. And there's so many people that buy books and they don't actually fucking read them. And that's like one of my pet peeves with cartoonists, is like when you're talking to them about making comic books and you reference this book, or You know, it's just a lot of techniques that you see in comic books in general, and they're not following that. And then come to find out that it's like, oh, because you don't actually like look at comic books or read comic books, you're looking at more picture books and those sorts of things. And they're two different mediums. And like when you're trying to get into comic books, like you have to know uh, the process, storytelling techniques, and all this other things. It's not just something that you can jump into and do. There's a lot of prep that you have to actually get into. And that's why it's like the first, you know, year and some change that I was drawing and learning about comics and everything like that. That's all I was doing every day. I was putting in a sketchbook log and doing a drawing, uh, this and that, learning the story, and going to SVS. And there's like a lot of things that I invested into myself to get to a point to where I can make stuff like this in just a year and a half, pretty much. So, and I wasn't going to make comics if I wasn't ready to make them. And once I got to that point, that's when I pulled the trigger, started the anthology series, and then now I'm here just basically making fucking pages on a daily basis. Like I said, it's like I'm gonna have 5 things out this year, and then I'm gonna have another 3 issues of White Line Deadline I'm gonna be putting out next year, because it's a 4-part miniseries. So I'm kind of hoping to be wrapped up and done with that thing by like mid next year, if not earlier than that. At least that's my goal. And I'm still going to be doing anthologies in between. There's usually like a 3-month gap in between each anthology when we start working on them and get them out. So that's kind of like what's in my creative pipeline right now. My LCS does a Halloween like 30% off sale for all the back issues during Halloween Day, and he does it every year. And I'm supposed to be making the flyer for that. And obviously we're coming up on Halloween here, and I've been bugging him for the last couple of weeks on like, you know, what do you want this flyer to be? What do you want it to look like? And he still hasn't given me a straight answer yet. So I am still standing by to wait on what he wants for the design and everything. And I've already decided in my head like kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to homage the Dark Knight Returns. I've been fucking around for the past like 6 months or so with spray paint textures and doing different things with spray paint. And I took like the Dark Knight Returns, you know, cover, how I had the lightning bolt kind of coming down the page. So I taped off a white spot for a lightning bolt, and then I just hit it with black spray paint, and then, you know, peeled it off so there was just a lightning bolt there. And then I was thinking about breaking out my white Posca and then just hand lettering, you know, what it was and what he's going to be doing for the Halloween thing. And then I have some like spooky screen tones I was going to put in the lightning bolt. I have like spider webs and whatever else. I thought that would look pretty cool. It'd save me a lot of time, and it's like I really don't have to draw anything, obviously, because it's just the whole page is black. But it's more to have a cool aesthetic, because the last flyer that he put out for last year, and this is the reasoning why I offered it to him, it's because he just like basically did it in Microsoft Word, and it's like, dude, you have 2 cartoonists that are frequenters to your shop, and it's like me and John, and John's like one of the best letterers I've seen. It's like really good natural ability with his handwriting, so thus that just makes him a good, you know, letterer in general. But it's like you have 2 cartoonists that are in your shop on a weekly basis, and it's like you didn't think to ask them to like make you flyers for your shops or everything. So I just said, I was like, dude, I'll do it for you, and I'll even do it for free. Caveat is, you got to put my Kickstarter, you know, logo on there, QR code, so then that way when you're handing out the flyers, you know, people are getting that shoved in their face, and he was cool with that. So I'm just standing by on what he actually wants to do this year for the sale, because like I said, it's like 30% off on his back is usually what he does every year, and he actually told me that he wanted to maybe swap it up this year. So we shall see. But yeah, super busy, man. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen, I have been updating my website slowly but surely in my store. One of the things I am working on is refining my micron holders and getting different ones. I was talking to James Foster about different ideas for the micron holders. And I'm going to make one that mounts to, you know, upright drawing desks. A lot of people like to draw on a drawing desk. It's basically at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to draw like I'm going to make like a hook arm that you can snap onto the bottom of the micron holders. So you can like hook it onto the top of your drawing desk and it hangs there, and then your micron holders just stick out directly at a 90-degree angle from your table, and they won't fall out because the micron holders are so deep that you can just put them in there. And I think that's what I'm going to do, so that way I don't have to do any edits or implementations on the current micron holders that I already have, and then I can use it as an add-on. So it's basically like, hey, you know, here's the add-on. If you wanted to use this, you can. And then if it breaks, you don't have to buy a whole new micron holder. You only have to buy a cheap, you know, clip that you just stick onto the bottom of your holder and put it on. So I'm thinking about a lot of different things and implementing a lot of different things to just kind of help the cartoonist and you know, artist community as a whole. That was something I was talking to Jim Rugg about when I was in Pittsburgh. He's like, oh, you must be making a killing over at your table with, you know, I had like all my guides and micron holders and so on and so forth. I was like, no, dude, like I've only sold one micron holder to somebody. And he was kind of taken aback by that. He's like, we're in a room full of cartoonists, and he's like, and nobody on the face of the planet is making a fucking micron holder but you. And he's like, and plus you have all these different guides and so on and so forth. He was just kind of like at a loss. Like, that's just wild to me that nobody has actually like invested into this stuff. And he was super excited about it. He's like, keep doing what you're doing. Give me a little bit of tips on, you know, some different guides and whatnot that I could make. Because he was telling me that he had a buddy of his who also wanted to make a micron holder and has experience with 3D modeling like I do. And his friend just never did it, just never followed through. So I guess I was the one that took the idea and ran with it. But one of the ideas that he gave me was, hey, make a 9-panel grid like layout. So basically like this, and then that way you can just put it over the top of your page and then hit it with spray paint, and you have a fresh 9-panel grid. Because as you guys know, when you actually sit and rule out a 9-panel page grid and you're putting gutters in it, it fucking takes forever to sit and properly measure everything, draw all your lines. So it's just a big time saver. And I need another line of dialogue here. So obviously I'm not on my drawing desk, so I can't use my Ames lettering guide here. I don't have my T-square. So I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. And roll it out this way. I forgot to space out the 16th for the gap in the text. But yeah, like I was saying, my Kickstarter book is completely fucking finished pretty much. It's just literally just waiting for the campaign to turn on. And full disclosure, I was actually going to activate it yesterday. And when I was in Pittsburgh talking to my food, he was like, yeah, I'm going to launch on October 1st. So I was like, oh, I am pulling my book from that date, because it would have been fucking buried like in the, you know, same communities that we're in. So I opted to do it a week and a half later. So, and I think that it actually works out a little better because, like I said, the anthology pipeline, I'll be able to get that book done, edited, and sent off to the printer before the campaign for the Kickstarter is actually done. So one of the things that I was thinking about doing was taking the third anthology and being like, hey, you know, it's going to be like a special add-on tier or something once I have like the cover and everything done for it, and then add it onto the Kickstarter and kind of send out an update to everybody to let them know what's up. Let me see what's going on in the chat here. I actually don't have my chat pulled up. What am I doing? Let me see what's going on here. But yeah, we'll probably go until I have these panels done here. Let's see. Give me a moment. But it is getting kind of hot in my room. I don't have my AC turned on, and I have my windows shut because I live on a busy ass street. So when my windows open and cars driving by, it's way too loud on the stream. So I'm kind of getting a little spicy right now. Yeah, I wish, dude. The uh, the thing with Mark, the thing with like Kickstarter. So like originally, I wanted to jump into it and do um, 1,500 is what I was asking, and I was like, that is just way too much money, especially like at the level that I'm at. So I bumped it down to 1,300, and I still opted to think that that was still way too much. So now it's at 1,000. So that's what I'm asking. And I was, of course, I did a lot of research on what other campaigns have done for the same amount of money, and a lot of them are in that $1,300 to $1,500 range. However, I'm of the mind that my campaign is better, than plus my variants and everything like that. A lot of these campaigns didn't have variants, or if they did have variants, they weren't very good ones. But I'm kind of the mind that I think 1,000's a good goal, and then if we do cross that, that's just icing onto the cake then. Yeah, Mark, he crossed his goal, so it was 7,500 in like the first 10 minutes that the campaign was actually out. That was pretty nuts to me. I booted it. I pulled out my phone at like 8:20 and saw that uh, where it was at. I think it was already at like 15 grand at that point. I was like, Jesus. And then when I went through and put my order in, I got the Gangsta Boogie signed book plate. That's what I ended up getting from them. And it was just so much, just crazy. Yeah, exactly, Mark. It's like I don't feel like I'm in a position to where I can ask somebody to give me like, 7,500 bucks, like zero fucking chance that it would even make that much to begin with. But like I said, I have a lot of cool add-ons that you don't see in a lot of other campaigns. And then plus, like, I'm making everything, so it's not like I'm hawking this stuff out to other, businesses to get my stuff printed and all of that. Like, I'm doing it all on my own. So it's like the t-shirts I'm printing all on my own, all of the 3D printed stuff I'm doing all of my own, the stickers I'm printing all of my own. So it's like it's all in my hands, and that's like part of the campaign money is going to actually produce those add-ons and not for me to pay somebody else to do it. So the whole campaign itself is completely DIY. Turn up the light here a little bit. So yeah, the whole campaign itself is completely DIY from start to finish. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like Jim is one of those dudes that has a cult following, obviously, and it's like we're part of that cult, and I get it. The first time I ever heard about Jim or I'd seen his stuff was actually Girl Scouts. I'm trying to remember which version of Girl Scouts it was, but it was one of the ones that he released through Image, not one of the self-published ones. And I've pretty much been hooked ever since. And Jim's just a cool ass dude, man. Like getting to talk with him in Pittsburgh and hang out with him for a little bit, digging around comics with them at the comic shops. And yeah, he's just a good ass dude, and he was willingly just giving me just advice, like I wasn't even asking for it, and he was just spitting knowledge to me. Um, I went over to his table on Sunday when it was like a little slower in Pittsburgh, and me and him sat and chatted for I don't know an hour or so probably, and picked his brain a little bit, and then we that night at Red Robin, Bobby, who is Ed's brother, he paid for everybody that was tabling at the con to go out to Red Robin and have a meal, and sat with Don Simpson and Jim Rugg, Jim Mahfood, Stand Up Dan was there, and all just sat and shot the shit about comic books and life and everything like that. So yeah, I had a great time, and I cannot speak any more highly of Jim Mahfood. The dude has made it in independent comic books, obviously, and he's at like the pinnacle of independent comic books, in my opinion. And he has yet to pull the ladder up from underneath him. And it's like it's amazing that you still see that he leans into that indie underground sort of style and aesthetic, and he still like contributes pinups to like weird ass obscure indie DIY books and all that kind of stuff. So he's never left the roots, even though he is getting, money for publishing things like the Iron Man covers and whatever else that he's done throughout the recent times. Okay, yeah. I think maybe the first time that I heard about Jim, it may have not been Girl Scouts. It actually may have been kayfabe. Actually, now that I think about it, they may have mentioned him in passing in a video, and that's what prompted me to go seek it out and look at it. Pretty sure it was kayfabe actually. And yeah, they did that shoot interview with him, which is pretty fun. I was talking about that at the beginning of the stream, and he was talking about how he was trying to do mainstream stuff for Marvel, and they canned all those indie books that they were doing in like the mid 2000s. Yeah, he's super supportive, and that's something that's awesome, and you should be. Like, my thing with cartoonists and artists and stuff in general, you see a lot of that gatekeeping going on. And then only do you see the gatekeeping happening, there's a lot of, what do you want to say, like, a lot of like fuck you, I got mine energy. Not like, the whole like pulling up the ladder behind you kind of stuff. Like, there are just so many people that I've reached out to that aren't even like big cartoonists in the grand scheme of things. Like, sure, they might be like big in like our communities, I guess you could say, and just emails falling on deaf ears, just no response. And these are also people that like I have met in person, I've talked to, and things like that. And then after the fact, I would reach out to them, and then still just nothing, no response or anything. And I don't know, like I have a customer service background, and like that's what I primarily do in my my day job. And it's like it's just bad business practice in my opinion, because if these people have good experiences with you, they're more likely to support your work later on and then buy stuff as well. But if you're if you're a dick, or if you no name people, you're not like paying attention, you're not replying to their emails, so on and so forth, it's like people are going to give up on you quick and stop caring. Even though they're reaching out to you in terms of like not wanting to be a fan, but asking you about your process, or hey, look at my art, or whatever. You don't have to shoot those kind of people down, or ignore them. Like, it literally takes 30 seconds out of your fucking day to send an email to somebody to just say, hey, this looks great, keep up the work. Like, you don't even have to look at the fucking art, just still be encouraging, and then go about your day. And then that person is gonna feel special and be like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna keep going, and snag it away. Like, that's all it takes sometimes. So yeah, it's just like one of my biggest pet peeves is people that have that kind of mentality, and like I said, and just straight up like ignore your communications. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves, is like it takes zero energy to fucking send an email out to somebody. And I get that a lot of people are busy and they have things going on, but it's like, come on now, like let's be realistic here. Like, you're talking to somebody who, myself personally, it's like I talk to people on the phone all fucking day, and it's like 40 to 50 phone calls I do every day on top of sending emails out to people too. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing that I have. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Yeah, exactly. It's like you have to find those groups of people, and it's actually kind of funny you say that, Mark, because I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan. So I was watching the most recent season, which is probably like I think from last year, but the most recent season of Hell's Kitchen, and he basically gave the advice to one of the chefs, and it was like, who cares if you don't fit in with the rest of these chefs that are on the show, because they're bickering with people and all that kind of stuff. and Gordon Ramsay said to this lady, he's like, you don't have to sit at the cool kid table when you can make your own cool kid table. And I'm like, oh my God, like I just got knowledge spit on me from fucking Gordon Ramsay about about you know, not trying to wedge your way into stuff and forcing things, and just going with the flow and just letting things happen, you know, naturally. And that's honestly pretty solid advice, I think. And that was from Master Chef of all things. So, but yeah, it's like some of the people that I have reached out to, and they've been like super supportive to me, and every time I do reach out to them, they always reply, give me advice or words of encouragement. And it's like, Steve Rude is one of those guys that always gives me a lot of words of encouragement. And his wife, Janelle, she's a super nice lady. Sean Crystal, of course. He is probably the one that's helped me out the most by a long shot. He definitely sees something in me. Because every time that I do reach out to him, he gives me way more advice than what I've asked for. And he goes above and beyond for everything that I do. Like my Kickstarter, for instance, because I studied underneath Sean at SVS. And obviously class is already done. And I continued to work on my book, got my Kickstarter ready. And he helped me with it directly. So, you know, I love Sean, and he's done way more than I ever would have asked for the guy. And I've been trying to think of something special to kind of do for him. I don't know if I was gonna like send him a drawing, or just kind of send him a nice little letter or something, just kind of let him know that I really appreciate him. So Sean is probably like my number one supporter of somebody who's like had a long career in comic books and sticks his neck out for me for sure. And I will never take that for granted. But yeah, and Jim Rugg, also very supportive of everything I've ever done. Every time I reached out to him, he's always been super encouraging. Eric Larson is another guy that's always been super encouraging to me. I was actually just emailing with Eric a couple of days ago. West Coast Dave put up his most recent episode, and I've emailed back and forth with Eric a handful of times. And Savage Dragon is my favorite action comic of all time. So I'm constantly trying to pick his ear on stuff, and then as well, one of my goals is to at least have like a pin-up or a short story, but at least a pin-up in Savage Dragon sometime or someday. And I have planned out in my head exactly what I would draw for said pin-up. And I have gone to Eric many a times and have brought this up to him about wanting to do it. And he has yet to shoot down the idea, and he always says, yeah, that would be great. I just don't have the capability right now or the space. And he's like, when I do, we'll go ahead and send it. Because he's busy, you know, doing stuff for Marvel right now, so he doesn't have a lot of the time to work on things like that. So we'll see if he ends up wanting to do something once like he gets a little closer to wrapping up the stuff that he's been doing for Marvel. Yeah, Mark, I did do the course with him and Jake. It was 10 weeks long, and my White Line deadline, that's where that whole book actually started from. So originally that story started out as a 10-page mini comic, and I was going to put out like a little, you know, ash can sized mini comic at Eddie Pecan, and that was going to be like the big thing that I was going to have there. Little did I know that I was going to invest, you know, some money into myself and then do SVS. And yeah, I learned a shitload, and having like access to Sean and Jake at the same time, like the office hours were incredible. Basically, it would be from like 9 p.m. my time, so like Central Standard Time, till about 11 to 12 at night. And they would sit, answer everybody's questions in the chat. And as the class went on, a bunch of people dropped off. Like when we first started class, there was like 130 people, and like towards the end of the course, there was maybe like 20 to 30 of us, I want to say, that were like still actively like posting things in there, our homework, so on and so forth. So it's like, even there, you saw the massive amount of drop off that you see when like people realize like how much work comics are to make and to do. So, yeah, super proud of myself for making it through that and doing all of it. And when I was writing out all of the thumbnailing and everything like that for my 10-page mini-series or 10-page mini-comic, I started fleshing it out. I started adding more characters, this and that. I'm like, all right, it's impossible for me to fit this in 10 pages. And then it went from, okay, I'm going to do something bigger than just like a little mini comic. Like I'm going to do like a full trade graphic novel. So it was going to be like 125 to 135 pages, like total for story. And then, I was going to put in my scripts, thumbnails, director's commentary, all that kind of stuff, all the extras. So it would have been like 150 to 160 page book roughly. But then I opted like probably the last week of class, maybe class may have been over by that point, but a lot of people I was talking to had felt like you can still do the floppies, because that's what I wanted to do originally. And then when I was in SVS, all the people that were there were not really based or like focused on making comics. They were more in like Jake's lane, where they're more focused on like classic children's graphic novels and that sort of thing. So a lot of them, again, weren't in the whole comic realm. They're more focused on the kids stuff. So when I was fleshing out everything and starting to make more of the story, I was like, yeah, there's zero chance that this is going to fit into a single issue. All the sorts of people kind of talked me into doing it into a trade. And then after I've kind of talked to people in the ink pulp community, and then as well guys at the comic shop, everybody's like, dude, do it in the single issues like you want, because you prefer the floppies. You can sell the variants, and then that way I can support other artists. Because it's like, if you guys worked on variant covers for me, like I'm gonna give you comp copies of the book, because like covers are made to sell the book. And I'm very much one that pay your fucking artists, support them the best that you can, especially if you're helping me do something. Like if it's a pinup or whatever, like that's just internal stuff, and that's fine. Like I'm greatly appreciated of it. But in the grand scheme of things, right, the cover is designed and made to sell the book. So that's why I went to specific people to see if they wanted to make covers for me and all that kind of stuff. So them being directly involved with the promotion or the selling of the book, I feel obligated to at least give them something. I'm fucking broke ass artist, like I'm sure the majority of us are. And it's like, I can't pay somebody to give me pages or to do covers for me, but I can pay you in comic books that you helped me work on. And it's like, I send you 10 copies of something, that's, you sell them at whatever, $10 a piece, $14 a piece, whatever you end up pricing them at. It's like, that's potentially, whatever, like $100+ that you can put into your pocket if you hustle those copies that you worked on. So it's up to you with what you do with the copies once you get them. But I'm still going to support you the best that I can with those copies. But yeah, Mark, class was amazing. I learned a shitload. And I know that they're going to be running it again. Sean had mentioned to me that sometime in March, probably, they're going to run it again. And they're going to do a bunch of iterations on the course and do a lot of touch-ups and whatnot. But yeah, being the first class to run through that, it was amazing. And if you're looking to expand your storytelling chops, I would say that's the best place to do it. Um, because in that class, it's kind of an understanding that you already know how to draw, and it's mainly focused on storytelling. So, how to thumbnail properly, how to write out scripts in different ways, character design sheets, you name it, all that kind of stuff. Like, they teach you all of that, and they give you resources as well. So, like, scene, um, scene layout sheets and all this other kind of stuff. I just have PDFs for. So whenever I want to make another book, I just break out like those layout sheets that Jake made, and I can pump out some story stuff real quick, add some characters in, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to expand your story chops, like I said, that's the resource to do it. And they should be running it again in March. All right, we got one more panel to go. It's fucking hot in this room though, man. Whew. Yeah, thanks for saying that, Mark. I try to be as active in that community as possible and spread the love of comics. Um, One of the things that kind of irritates me a little bit about that Discord is the amount of people that pop in there and don't stay and say stupid shit and kind of leave. I mean, you see that in any internet community. But for me, my big thing is like, if you're a cartoonist and you're making comic books and you're spending your time, doing dumbass drawings of Wolverine and, whatever else, Batman and this and that, it's like, don't get me wrong, like, you can do your fan art and, that's all great and dandy for practice and everything like that. But when you spend all day, like, doing the Inktober stuff, and it's like, and you have a book that you should be making, it's like you should probably be focusing on getting your pages done rather than making fan art for stuff. And I'm of the mind that I learn as I go, so I prefer to learn my craft while actually making comic books, and I feel like I learn faster that way, actually doing the thing. And the more pages you get under the belt, the better off you are, in my opinion. So I focus on getting my comics done. Like, for instance, there is somebody who's in SVS and is also in the Ink Pulp Discord. He will post things of like fan art and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, we're in SVS together, and we graduated from that course back in mid-July. So it's been 3 months or so just about since we've been out of that course, and it's like your book still isn't remotely close to being done. And every day I will see posts from that individual in the Discord that, oh, I did this, whatever, I don't fucking know. I did this Superman drawing. And it's like, well, that's cool, dude, but when are you gonna finish that fucking comic book? You know? I don't know, I kind of have that food hustle in me that I constantly, all I want to do is make books and get them out there and hustle the shit out of them. Because I do the same thing that Mahfood did when he was first starting, the same thing that Monty Keene did when he was first coming up. Um, just cold calling shops, man, and cold emailing shops and hoping they carry your stuff. So it's like right now, my books are in 12 shops carrying my books all across the U.S. um, 2 shops in California, shop in Georgia. I got 3 shops here in Wisconsin, And there are 2 shops in Pittsburgh now that carry my stuff, because when I was in Pittsburgh digging for comics, I was carrying around comics in my backpack with me, my own comics, with my pitch sheet, kind of like a not necessarily like a portfolio, but it's kind of like, hey, here's what I can do for your shop. And basically is how I frame it to people is, I will advertise your shop and pitch your shop in my books and talk the sweet word of your shop and this and that and film content in here, but the understanding that, hey, you know, I will be promoting your business, and then you sell my books, and it's like wholesale 50 off. So it's like, you know, my anthologies are $5 a piece, so I'm only making 250 on it. And it's not about making the money at this point in my career. It's about getting my name out there and, again, just spreading comics. So when I was out in Pittsburgh, I was like, that's what I was doing. I was like carrying a backpack full of comics. I'd walk into a shop, find the guy, talk to him. So like Doomed Planet and Phantom of the Attic, like they should have copies of okay, yeah, hey, how you doing, Robert? So yeah, it's like Phantom of the Attic and Doomed Planet took copies from me. Yeah, so is what I'll do for you, Mark, is if you end up, I think you had said earlier that you're gonna end up doing stuff for me for this current anthology. Um, I can mail stuff up to Canada for you. Like that won't be a problem. The reasoning why I was so apprehensive of doing it on the second one on the second one to begin with, when I did it on the first one, it's like I had people that worked on it from like Slovenia. There was somebody else from fucking Denmark and somebody from Scotland. And it's like just for me to ship those books to them, like it cost me like $35 to ship 10 books to people. And it's like, then this was when like all the tariff stuff was like at the height. So it's like then they were getting it there, and it's like somebody had to pay like it was like $70 for import fees and everything like that to get their 10 books. So even if they did sell their 10 copies, and you know that one, that's only $50. They still didn't make up for the other $20 worth of import fees. So that's when I kind of canned it, because I didn't want anybody else to get hit with those import fees, and then plus like I was paying a fucking arm and a leg to get that stuff shipped. But for you, Mark, and only you, I'll send them to Canada. Um, yeah, I hope you're doing good, Robert. It was good meeting you in Pittsburgh, man. Um, oh shit. I guess I'm done. I just now realized I probably got to go back and touch up some of this, cause I mean it's not terrible, but it definitely could get touched up a little bit. Just grab a little bit of a thicker marker. Like this is my favorite lettering thing that I use is the Micron 8. I just feel it's like the perfect tip because it's flat on the top and you can just get it real nice and flat and just and go at it. Um, Actually, now that you're in the chat, Robert, I want to show you something. And this is after the fact that we got it printed and it's whatever, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention so you could see it. Here we go. And we got Mark in the chat too. There's what Mark did, just fucking badass image, dude. But Robert, for you, where is it? Because I didn't notice it until we had printed it. But there is a typo in one of your speech bubbles. And I wish that I saw it when I was editing it. And to be honest with you, Robert, it's not your fault. It's my fault that I didn't, as the editor of the book, I didn't see it. But I did see it after the fact when it was printed in my hands. Now I look like a fucking idiot because I can't find the panel. But it wasn't a typo. It was actually like a... Looked like you may have fat fingered the keyboard and you added in an extra character in one of the speech bubbles on accident. Anyhow, You have copies of it. You can go through it and look. Once you actually see it, you'll see it. I'm trying to find it now, but it's all good. Nah, dude, it's not your fault, man. Like I said, I should have realized that as an editor. And like, if I would have noticed it, I would have just fixed it and wouldn't have bothered you about it. 'Cause that's how I roll. But yeah, somewhere in one of these panels, one of the words has like a random character in the middle of it. I can't find it right now, but I noticed it and I figured that I would just say something to you so that way you just have like for future reference. Just double check it. Just trying to help you make better comics. Oh, you did see it, okay. It's all good, man. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably where we're gonna end up wrapping it up though, because I want to get it. I haven't ate dinner yet, and it's coming up on 8 o'clock here, local time. So, gotta make some food. Gotta feed my pup. We can probably bring this camera back here. I gotta reset this for whatever reason. Like I don't know why, but OBS freezes that camera anytime I flip it. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna probably call it there. I'm gonna get this page completely finished and done before the end of the night, and then like I said, this weekend I'm probably gonna get 4 pages done, two on Saturday and two on Sunday, and get those completely finished. Um, I bought a shitload of screen tone as well, and that's gonna be coming in this weekend because it's like I use these specific screen tones, and the only way you can get them if you buy them in those dumbass variety packs. So then I keep piling up screen tones that I'll never use, and it's like, look at this. Like, it's insane the amount of screen tone that I have that I'll never touch. Because they're just like weird ass patterns and stuff. It's like, when am I ever gonna use that? But look at this. Like, this is all screen tone. Like, multiple packs. There's over 100 sheets of screen tone right here in all of these packs. And it's like I said, it's like, when am I ever gonna use some of these patterns? And it's like I try to find uses for some of them, but man, it's difficult. Like these ones where they're like drawings, basically, or like backgrounds of like schools and all that kind of stuff. It's like, when the fuck am I ever gonna use those? I don't know. Who knows? And it's like I see people sell those sheets on like eBay and whatnot, but it's like you guys get it if you use screen tones and zipatones and all that kind of stuff. It's like you hoard it and you don't want to give it up because one, it is so expensive, and it's like you guys know your artists. It's like you never know. It's like it's just like something broken in your brain that it's like you need 55 different inking tools on your desk, but you only use two of them. So you guys know how that is. But yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going to call it. We are going to be doing a stream next week. My channel hits a year on the 10th, so that is the same day that my Kickstarter is going live. And obviously I do streams on Thursdays, so it's going to kind of be like a pre-stream, pre-launch stream, and then as well it's kind of going to be like an anniversary of the channel, because like I said, it's going to be a year. And West Coast Dave is the reason why I started doing YouTube to begin with. So I gotta give a shout out to Dave. I emailed Dave like mid to late September last year, and was telling him that he was a big influence on me and wanting to just put myself out there and make content and this and that. And of course, Dave, the guy that he is, he emailed me back and um, you know, just was super friendly. And then me and him have been buddies ever since. Like, we email back and forth all the time and chat and everything like that. And he's always super encouraging to me, always gives me advice and everything. So it's like, obviously, what Dave's like, what, 14, 15 years older than me. So a lot more life experience. But yeah, Dave's a good dude, and I love him to bits. As you guys know, it's like we're all part of his community here. So, yeah, I definitely am happy to say, he's a really good friend of mine. So I again, David's just another one of those guys that has helped me immensely, as everybody else here. So I appreciate everybody's support on everything that you have done for me, and many more comics and everything like that to come, man. But yeah, I'm going to be here next week, and it's going to be Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like I said, we're going to be celebrating the channel anniversary, and then as well the pre-launch of the Kickstarter, and then on the 10th, the morning of the 10th, I'm going to be turning it on. So probably like 7 a.m. Central or like 8 p.m. Central is kind of where we're going to be, or 8 a.m. Central is kind of where it's going to be getting turned on, and then it's going to be going for 30 days. So lots of exciting stuff, and I can't wait for you guys to see more of it. And then as well, I can't wait to show off more of these pages. So keep an eye out on Discord, because I'm gonna share the pages for the anthology on there more, because this thing's batshit. So I think Jim, Malfood especially, is gonna really like the story, because it's like, I don't think you get any more like Johnny Ryan than this. And if you guys have ever read a Johnny Ryan comic, like, you know what I mean. So dude just holds no holds barred, and that's the way that I'm running this comic. So more to come. All right, I'm done running my jibs. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Feel free to message me on Discord, email me. If you have my phone number, text me. Hope everybody has a good week. Peace out, everybody.